Welcome to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And we love talking about exciting projects for the city of Memphis. We are joined by Antonio Perez, General Manager of Memphis Sports and Event Center. An exciting project indeed. Antonio, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Really pleased to be on the show. Thank you very much for having me. Always love chatting Memphis Sports and Event Center, and happy to do so with you today.
Well, let's start with a little bit of the backstory. So give us a little bit of context in terms of the idea and, kind of building into this amazingly exciting project.
Yeah, so this is going to be a building that provides a lot of solutions for this region because there's really nothing like it. I come from a sports background, and I'm a former tournament operator who, to run a big event, had to rent 4 or 5 or 6 gyms. So now we're providing a solution for people who, like me, can now do so all under one roof. And when we talk about that, that's by means of a facility that's 227,000 square feet, that has 16 basketball courts or the equivalent of 32 volleyball courts, but that can be really suited to accommodate any type of sport or event, whether that's pickleball, wrestling, cheer, dance, indoor field hockey. So really just touting the versatility of the facility overall, but as it plays into the city, just, another example of how Memphis is on the rise and continues to make great resources available to its citizens, but also to those regionally and even nationally.
And very centrally located. So talk about where all this is happening.
Yeah, so this is all happening at Liberty Park, which many Memphians might know as the fairgrounds. We sit right across from the Liberty Bowl, next to the Kroc Center, across from the Coliseum. So we are the newest and latest, but if you pay attention to the news, you just heard about the Tigers stadium renovation. Right behind the building of the Memphis Sports and Event Center will be a private development area where you're going to have housing, hotel, retail, entertainment, office space. So really just revitalizing that whole entire area, formerly known as the fairgrounds, that's now Liberty Park.
And, to your point, on your end, having to rent multiple facilities as a tournament director, talk about what this means for tourism, because I think there's obviously the local piece of this, which is when you talk about holding tournaments and big events, gymnastics, cheerleading, basketball tournaments, as you mentioned, pickleball and volleyball, all of these exciting sports programs that in many cases you kind of have to ad hoc it. Now, all of a sudden, you've got it in a place where everybody can convene and come together. There's excitement, there's commerce, you have a cafe, you have a VIP area. There's a lot of use out of it, but it becomes a draw regionally and nationally to host big events. So talk about it from that standpoint.
Yeah, you absolutely nailed it. And it's one of our 2 charges. First is to be, locally serving so that during the week, you're going to come in and learn intro to soccer or play in your standard youth basketball league. You might play your co-ed, volleyball at night for adults. But, you kind of mentioned it becomes a sports tourism asset on the weekends. Absolutely. There's a whole culture and business and industry of sports tourism where these events are taking place all across the country. And they've always had to bypass Memphis because we've never had the facilities to support it. Now that we have a venue with all those amenities that you mentioned and more, those operators are seriously considering Memphis. So we're hosting the regional championships of this and the national open of this and the national championships of that. And of course, from an in-building perspective, we love that type of activation, but it's really a get for the entire community and city. They're staying in our hotel rooms, they're eating our food, they're visiting our attractions, they're buying our gas. So just the impact extends far beyond our walls, so that we're getting events we've never otherwise had the opportunity to host in Memphis. They're now coming here and considering us seriously.
Yeah, I could easily see where for the NCAA being able to host, some really big events, and obviously for the youth and, like you said, adults too. Talk about the balance of kind of how you're going to be able to orchestrate all these different groups that want to use the space, on a daily basis, and then the tournaments and things on the weekend. And so there's going to be a little bit of a dance between all these different entities that want to use the space. So talk about how it's going to work in terms of the business magic.
Yeah, so it's very much a puzzle, but luckily it's a really big space. So during the week, a lot of our programs will be run simultaneously, so that on one half of the building, you'll see volleyball, in a corner, you'll see futsal, up front, you'll see basketball. So we have the versatility to host a lot of events at once. When it comes to the weekends, it's like I mentioned, building a puzzle and slotting in the events. This is a new facility, so the demand is high because the building's going to be great and shiny. So we always want to be accommodating and say yes to as many people as we can, but we also want to build a compelling calendar. We don't want this to be just a basketball facility. We don't want it to be just a volleyball facility. So we really want to showcase the variety of events that this building can host. So again, we're trying to develop the best product mix versus just having 8 basketball tournament weekends in a row, all of whom cannibalize each other's registrations and none of which are success. We're able to really showcase the versatility and kind of have everybody there. So it's a great problem to have, but luckily it's a big space. 52 weekends a year we get to fill, but then from Monday to Friday, just really opening it up to, again, it might be seniors who are using it during the day while kids are in school. After school time, we'll see those younger kids who are coming in for practice, training, things of that nature, their leagues. And then, like I said, in the evenings, we'll flip to adult programming, so that the weekend warriors can have a chance at it too. So we'll do it all.
Give us an idea on the business side, the planning process, the timing. Have things gone smoothly with supply chain issues? Talk about kind of the business side of building the actual structure and pulling all these pieces together.
Yeah, so we're the operator and tenant of the building, but the building's being built by so many talented people, headlined by Turner Construction, and they move so fast. We're on time. We tracked open in November, so we tout that proudly. In terms of these systems, what's great about our facility is that while it's new to Memphis, it's not new to its parent company. So Memphis Sports and Events Center is a part of Eastern Sports Management, and they have similar facilities throughout the US, largely on the East Coast, but expanding. So we're able to adopt their best practices, their systems, and their protocols, so that on day one, we're using proven methods rather than learning as we go. In terms of the planning, we have mileposts for every action step, whether that's a year out, 9 months out, 6 months, 45 days open. So it's very systematic in that way. Right now, we're assembling our full-time staff. We'll roll about 10 to 12 deep, and then we'll roll into a part-time staff, which on an event weekend can be over 100. So, when we talk about job creation too, that's another great element about a project like this. But there's so many parts that people don't realize behind the scenes that ultimately result in the tournament or the league that you get to participate in, or they're just critical to the successful launch of a building like this.
I love the fact that you talk about the proven model. So you're not reinventing the wheel. It's, hey, we're taking best practices and we're bringing them to Memphis with a proven model. So we know this is going to work. And now we get to basically accelerate and move forward quickly for the benefit of our community. Share a little bit of just some of the other amenities. As I mentioned, you've got a cafe, VIP suites, perfect for commencements. I mean, you've got a lot of versatility like you're talking about, but there's also a lot of amenities. So talk about some of the other amenities.
Yeah, so we talked about the court spaces. Those are obviously the highlights, the 16 basketball courts, the 32 volleyball courts. We'll have spectator seating for thousands, so reflective of those big events, we'll be able to accommodate them. 4 VIP suites that overlook the courts. We'll have multi-purpose rooms, so that if somebody needs a staging area, a breakout, a meeting, those are all things that we can accommodate. There'll be a sports performance area, so to complement the on-court training, if somebody wants to get faster, stronger, we won't be a club in the way of membership, but those will be tools that we offer to the athletes within the building. We'll host esports, which is a new wave. There'll be a kids entertainment zone. You mentioned a full menu cafe with indoor and outdoor seating. We'll have standard fare like burgers and fries and chicken fingers, but we'll also have healthy options, be it wraps or salads or smoothies. So, in that way, just wanting to serve and give appeal to as many different people as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Give us, when you look at some of the things that are on your radar already, you alluded to obviously finding and building the team, getting all the infrastructure, starting to put the puzzle pieces together. Give us maybe 1 or 2 things that are a big part of your vision and goals for the next 24 months. So the next, beyond year, kind of what are some of your big goals?
Yeah, so we want a full and mature calendar where, 50 weekends are programmed a year by best in class operators. The facilities will be open to local groups, and they're going to be our lifeblood in terms of who trains and who practices there too. But we want to be able to say that, hey, best in class in this sport or that major event comes through Memphis, because everybody wins in that way. Again, the building's activated, that's great, but that's going to be the biggest impact for the city of Memphis. And then we just want to be do-gooders. We want to make the programs available that serve the community so that kids are learning to play sports in a safe setting correctly with good coaches that as a parent, you can feel good that your kids are around. And then just provide that leisure, athletic, entertainment outlet for adults also. Adults work hard, so we want to offer them some reprieve so that if, after a long work day, they can come play and some volleyball or shoot some hoops at 8 p.m. before they call it a night. We want to be an outlet there too. So again, it just all falls back to the two tasks, be the sports tourism asset and be locally serving.
How are you all going to be sustainable? Talk about kind of where you're going to make your money to keep the facility obviously top notch, and play that into how we can help as the community. So talk about kind of the business side, the money side on your end, and then how we can help.
Yeah, so there are multiple revenue streams that surround a building like this. That's going to come everything from facility rentals to food and beverage sales, to upgrades that might surround a certain part of the event. The admissions that, obviously to spectate these different sports, there are going to be some times where we rent to third parties. There are going to be other times where we partner with them so that we share in revenue. But then we're also going to self-operate our own tournaments. So there's going to be Memphis Sports and Events branded events and tournaments that'll produce a little bit more revenue. Then there's sponsorship that surrounds the building, everything from naming rights to what beverages you're drinking and what food you're consuming. Those are all natural plays as well. And then in terms of support, if somebody has an actual business inquiry, if they want to have an event, if they want to sponsor, they definitely need to reach out to us now. But from the local citizens perspective, just come to the building, play a sport, get your kid enrolled, especially when we open November. We're going to do a series of ribbon cuttings or open house type of events, free to attend. We want people to learn all about the resource that's new to their neighborhood. So again, they can just patronize us by being a guest in the building, whether it's as a customer or a spectator or just general supporter.
Yeah, and I think that's important to know is all the different ways you can plug in. Like you say, I mean, you're going to have your own events and tournaments and things like that people can plug in and enjoy. And then also obviously work to rent those out, co-host, collaborate, and then the cafe. So there's a lot of different ways that we as the public can enjoy everything that you're doing and obviously participate heavily. Talk about when it comes to the sponsorships and some of those side for companies to activate. And then also too, the timing, when you talk about hosting these events, I'm assuming you've got to be pretty far in advance. So are you looking 6 months, a year, 3 months? How far do we need to be making sure that we're on your radar screen?
Yeah, so this industry in the way of, weekend-based sports events, you're looking at 9 to 12 months out for a lot of these operators. Locally, you can activate a little bit faster because you have an advantage of knowing, the players and the teams and the coaches, what have you. But you're typically looking 9 to 12 months out. So we're very much booking a 2023 calendar into first, second, and now even third quarter. But we'll also have other operators who look so far ahead where, we're talking about events in 2025, which is crazy to say. But for more of your big time national or, biannual type events, that's how far ahead they're looking. So that's the lead time involved. In terms of sponsorship opportunity, no time's the wrong time, but right now is the best time. So folks can visit the msec.com. That just stands for Memphis Sports and Event Center. But there we have a sponsorship inquiry. You can make your event inquiries there. But yeah, everything's all on the table. It's being built right now. So it's just a great opportunity to be part of the open, the launch, and just really the celebration that'll surround its opening.
Give me one more thing that you wish everyone knew about the Memphis Sports and Event Center.
Yeah, that it's happening. This is a project that's been talked about for 15 to 20 years, as I'm told, preceding my 7 years in Memphis. And, there's the branding confusion of, Tiger Lane versus Liberty Park versus Memphis Sports and Event Center. it's coming out of the ground. If you drive past East Parkway South, you'll absolutely see this thing. It's totally real. You know, when we engage the operators and the potential rights holders, the building sells itself. It meets all their needs in the way of space and amenities and the technology within. It's just letting people know that it's coming and happening. So that's why I welcome opportunities like this, because I'm just so excited about it. But it's just letting people know that it's real, it's happening, and it's opening in November. That's the story we're out to tell.
We'll wrap up with website. You mentioned it already, but website, social media, phone numbers. Where do we need to go to make sure that we're in the loop?
Yeah, the msec.com. That's going to have your links to your social channels, which is just Memphis Sports and Event Center. But go to the msec.com. If you want to make an event inquiry, you can do so there. If you want to make your sponsorship inquiry, you can do so there. It has links to our social channels, but also really cool video and imagery. You can take some 3D tours throughout the building. And I think seeing those is really what's going to excite people.
Well, Antonio, very exciting indeed. Thank you for coming on the show and sharing. I appreciate it.
Jeremy, you're most welcome. Thanks for all the good you do in the community.